So, Pravda talked about how Ukraine has lost 500,000 killed since February of 2022. That is a bizarrely overinflated, wrong by so much estimate, and I'm here to tell you why. Okay, so we're going to go through this little article and I'll unpack not just why it's wrong, but what the numbers probably are more like. Ukraine loses these 500,000. The armed forces of Ukraine have irretrievably lost 500,000 soldiers since the beginning of the special operation. Jan Gagin, advisor to acting head of the Donetsk People's Republic, told RIA Novosti. Okay, who is Jan Gagin? He's just an advisor to the head of the Donetsk People's Republic, so it's already somewhat slanted, but he could still be right. Let's listen. Gagin referred to an intelligence data as well as analysis of open sources. In particular, the official cited a social advertisement of a Ukrainian mobile operator which said that about 400,000 of its subscribers would never again answer the phone. Okay, that's not really something to hang your hat on. This was a social media thing where they were putting this out here. So I would be very careful with that kind of thing. So let's first look at this. It's day 569. That's today, September 15th, and that's where we're talking. And if you're just going to do some quick math, 500,000 divided by 569, you're at about 878 casualties killed, not casualty total, killed per day. Sounds a bit high, but again, this is on the Ukrainian side, so it can be plenty high from the Russian perspective. 878 per day sounds really, really high as an average. Okay, now let's go to the fact check. Fact check, no evidence Ukrainian mobile operator released charity ad citing army losses. A clip falsely attributed to Ukrainian mobile operator Kyivstar and implying that 400,000 Ukrainian soldiers had died in the war against Russia is circulating in multiple languages. Okay, so let's look at the actual video itself. So here is the ad itself. Now, I don't speak Ukrainian or Russian, but you can gather, even if you don't, you can gather enough from the context of this video to understand what it's trying to say. Okay, 400,000. See how the guy is kind of shadowy, like he's like a ghost? He's never going to answer his phone. Okay, this is what this gentleman is drawing from, trying to say, well, this is one of the evidences, and that 400,000 number is kicked around by Doug McGregor and others like that in order to make the claim that that's what's going on. So 400,000 was the high water mark before. Now it's 500,000 a little while later. Gagin also recalled NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg's reaction to the question about Ukraine's losses of more than 500,000 military personnel. He didn't answer, but he said they didn't promise it would be easy. That is, he confirmed this figure with his silence. That's his evidence? Okay, so this is fictitious nonsense. A little bit lower, he said the number of 500,000 soldiers does not include sanitary losses or those who were missing. So those who may have been missing in action. This is one of the worst efforts of kind of a push-pull or journalistic puff piece kind of thing, trying to make your narrative rather than actually report facts. But it's going to have a ripple effect. And let's just look at this a little bit more. Okay, how many American deaths were there in the Vietnam War? Over about a decade in Vietnam, the United States lost 58,220 killed in action. We're saying that in 560 some odd days, Ukraine has lost 500,000. Does that make sense? Look at what happened with the Soviets in about a decade in Afghanistan. Only lost 15,000 troops. Really? Ukraine lost 500,000? Now, we also have to look at the multiplier, because that says 500,000 killed. And it's usually a multiplier of 2 or 3 as a rough cut. I recognize that it's different in every battle but maybe 2 casualties or 3 casualties for every killed. Right? That would be 1,000,000 for casualties if you use a 2 multiplier, and 1,500,000 if you use a multiplier of 3. So that would mean that you would have 26,000 casualties per day since the war began, and that doesn't make any sense to me at all. If we're using a multiplier of 3, which seems pretty fair to do, generally speaking. Okay, what's the real number? Now, this came out not too long ago. This was in the New York Times. It was August 18th. It is September 15th now, so a little less than a month ago. Troop deaths and injuries in Ukraine near 500,000, but that's total, U.S. officials say, total on both sides. And if you look at Russia's military casualties, the officials are approaching 300,000. That's both killed and wounded. The number includes as many as 120,000 deaths and up to 170 to maybe 180 injured troops. Now that is the Russian side. What about the Ukrainian side? The Russian numbers dwarf the Ukrainian figures, which the officials put it close to 70,000 killed and 100,000 to 120,000 wounded. Nowhere near 500,000, but they're not actually trying to be accurate. They're trying to blow up a figure. Now, the reason that this is miserable is when they blow up this figure, what's going to happen is this kind of figure will be repeated by Doug McGregor or Scott Ritter, or in other, like this article will be wholesale reproduced and copied on Google somewhere in a Hindu paper or in an Arabic paper or some other papers, right? And that's really the misery. So I think this is probably somewhere near what's going on. I think that the Ukrainian figure might be a little inflated, although they might have ground truth that we just can't see from where we are. And I'm willing to say that either could be the case. But this Russian number is absolutely absurd. Okay, I hope that that helps you understand what's going on. And when you hear that 500,000, you can laugh and not go, what's happened? Because there was not a to what's happened. That didn't just take. It's not, there's nothing that's really supporting this in any meaningful way. Jan Gagin is using fake numbers from a weird social media ad that wasn't even necessarily from the company. It's a clip falsely attributed to a mobile operator, Kyivstar. Like, they didn't even create the ad, is what it appears to be. So Kyivstar denied any connection to the video, calling it fake, but then they're using this to repeat this because it's part of the hybrid propaganda war. And if they're going to lie about this, why wouldn't they lie about, well, I don't know, other things like 500,000 lost soldiers? Okay, so that's all that I have. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes. Thank you for the coffees, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine. I'll be back tomorrow, and I hope you will be too.